Hello there, thank you for staying with us and welcome to another edition of Channels Beam. I'm Victor Matthias. Now, with plans already set for the transition to 5G networks in Nigeria, a lot of Nigerians are waiting in anticipation of what to expect of the latest technology in mobile telephony and internet communication. Today on the show, we will take a look at what will be obtainable when the transition is made, the ups as well as the down, and also look at ways to mitigate any form of cyber attack. But before we get into that, let's first see the top trends in the past week.
Nigerians experienced a day-long blackout after the National Union of Electricity Employees asked its members to down tools as a result of the failure of government to fulfill some of their demands. The Electricity Union is protesting the non-payment of outstanding arrears owed to former workers of the defunct PHCN, among other things. Ukraine's Alexander Usyk won his rematch against Anthony Joshua by split decision to retain his world heavyweight titles in just his fourth fight in the division in Saudi Arabia on Saturday. Usyk, who dismantled the defending champion in London last year, faced an improved Joshua but outboxed him once again to set up a potential unification bout with Britain's Tyson Fury.
Well, there you go. Those were the trends in the past week. It wasn't a so good weekend for Nigerians, especially in the world of sports. But then let's get the show started. And let me introduce our guest today. We have Adedoyin Adedeji. He is a cybersecurity expert and the managing partner of Blue Rave Limited, an IT consultancy and project management agency based in Lagos. He joins us right here in our Lagos studio. It's a pleasure to have you on the show today. Of course. We also have joining us Dr. Bamishaye Victor. He is a Nigerian medical doctor and a social political analyst who is committed to a life of dedicated service to positively transform our local, national, and global paradigm. He joins us via Zoom from Oshogbo, the Osun State capital. Dr. Victor, it's a pleasure to have you on the show today.
Thank you for having me.
Of course. Kickstart this conversation for us, Adedoyin. So the excitement, what's the excitement about this 5G?
There's always excitement when there's innovation and technology coming into play. And I think for everybody, especially for the young people, having faster internet service and also being able to do a whole lot of things that you've not been able to do with internet connection in Nigeria, I think comes with a lot of excitement. And with the promise of 5G, you can do way more than we've done. We've seen the transition from edge to 2G to 3G to 4G. You can tell the difference in capacity of what you can do. And these days, we are seeing a whole lot of young people that are coming online and trying to innovate, trying to build things online. So with 5G also comes more possibility, more opportunity to do new things, more opportunity to explore what they've not explored. And also, for us as a people, we can stretch our boundaries now. Compared to what we've always done before, we can do more. And we can also expand our imagination to the kind of businesses we can build, the kind of solutions we can provide to our society, and also the kind of society we want to build in the future.
Yeah, so some would, it's good this is coming, but we're even looking at where we are now with the 4G. Has that been fully implemented?
Well, to a good extent, we can see the benefit of 4G in the society.
In the urban areas?
Yes. Generally, in the urban areas, we can see the benefit of 4G. And these days, we have a lot of young people that are working remotely, thanks to 4G. Without 4G, you can't work remotely. We have a lot of content creators today that without 4G, you can't get to see their content, or they can't even have their content online. So, yes, in a number of urban areas, we've had like an explosion in internet connection, and not just wireless, even for wired. All across Lagos, you have places where you can run internet cables directly into your houses and all that. So I think we've done well, but then it's always a case of economics, because if you want to expand some of these networks across the country, the question is who would bear the cost? You understand? So, in as much as, yes, it's good that we roll it out, in some other countries, government actively funds some of these things. Even in the US, I mean, in recent times, we've had the US government giving grants to internet companies to run 4G and 5G networks, even into rural communities, because there's no way you can justify the cost. Because, I mean, in every country, we have urban migration. So when you move to rural communities, you might not have the kind of population density you have in a city like this in other rural communities. So it's a give and take thing, really, because we want them to have access to the internet, but then it also comes at a cost, which you now have to consider, how do we bear that cost?
Well, we're going to come to that later on in the show, but let me bring in Dr. Bamishaye, into the conversation. Doctor, first of all, how excited are you about this rollout that is about to take place?
Thank you, Victor, for always having me.
Sure.
I remember I was in the studio with you in the year 2019, and we had a similar discussion, and my views haven't changed. I'm very excited that Nigeria can be a part of this shift, a part of this global movement from 4G to 5G, and who knows the number of G we're eventually going to get to. But with each step, you talk about improvement, you talk about the betterment of the society. And that's what comes with infrastructure, and that's what comes with global, when global paradigms shift. So for me, I'm very excited that Nigeria is not missing out. Yes, we are late to the party in some way, but of course, now we are here. And we'll rather celebrate the arrival than the lateness. So I'm very excited that this has come to stay and it's being rolled out in Nigeria today.
All right, great. So, I mean, one of the concerns that have been, been moving around is the fact, that this new technology might be harmful, to humans. Cancer, one of them. I think it was the WHO who classified, phone on telephony and phone materials as a cancer cause. I think they put it in category 2B. But I don't know what the case is now. Has there been any improvement in the stuff that we use now, the hardware that is being used now to avert such fears, that are out there in the public space?
Yeah, generally, when we're talking about radiation, there are two types, right? The ionizing, which is very dangerous, and the non-ionizing, which are generally not dangerous. Luckily for us, the 5G, the 4G, that we've been having belongs to the non-ionizing radiation compartment. And so we are operating at about 6 hertz, and that's very low and cannot cause considerable harm to the human body. Of course, many things are harmful, especially with accumulation, but within the limits of normal, we do not expect that this should be dangerous to the human body. In fact, Aru, Adimora, and Nwanko, three of them Nigerian researchers, they went to investigate this to see how much damage this could do to the human DNA, and they found that there's no substantial evidence to dictate or to say that there will be any harmful effect or any change to the human DNA. And so, what will still advise and admonish is moderation, safety use of equipment. Don't sleep with your phones too close to your head. Keep your buildings 5 meters away from the mast. And these general safety rules that we always preach is what we would continue to preach. But of course, to everything in life, one cannot with 100% absoluteness say that there are no risks. There will be risk, but for every human endeavor, what we want is that the pros is more than the cons, and that the benefit outweighs the cost. And in this case, I can confidently tell you that for 5G, we are moving towards advancement more than to detriment. So this is a technological advancement that we must embrace. It has come to stay, and there will be more and more look into caution and into safety as this technological advancement goes on. So I want to say that there's nothing for Nigerians to fear as of now, as long as we keep erring towards the side of caution in our everyday lives. The 5G is not more potent than the waves that come from the microwave or from the television. So I can say, put your mind at rest. Like the maxim of the young boy, do like this.
Well, reassuring words. One of the things that I was just thinking about is, the addiction that this generation, pretty much has to, the mobile phone. I mean, everyone wants to hold his phone. You might just hold it and even sleep off. So there's just all of that. And also, one of the things you mentioned is is how we situate these masts. Like, it's you can see in some places that the masts have, in fact, they share walls with homes of people. So, with such cases, what's the imminent effects that is likely to happen?
Yeah, for that, the reason why it's dangerous is the case of accumulation. You cannot live under the mast for years and expect nothing to happen. I mean, different vibrations and frequencies are coming to the mast and going. So that's why the NCC advises every health expert advises that live at least 5 meters apart. And if they are deviants, I think this is something that we must do collectively as a society to report this to the relevant authorities, and then actions be taken. People must be evacuated from places that are keenly close to the mast, because it is going to, in the long run, be dangerous for them, and that's like an overload that would have accumulated over time. So it's not the general, it's not what you expect for the average Nigerian. It's just what you see in a few deviants, and what we must together as a community stand up against by reporting to the appropriate authorities. Because there's a maxim in Yoruba that says, when your neighbor or someone who is living in your house eats cockroach, his discomfort will not let you sleep at night. So we must collectively speak out when we see buildings like this. And I think if we do that, the better it will be for us.
All right, let me hold you there for a bit. So, I mean, he's given us, some form of reassurance, so to speak, now, on one part. But we will also need reassurance, when it comes to the safety of people, on this platform. I mean, pretty much the safety that, would expect one to have as we are currently. But if you're moving to a higher technology, I mean, are we going to be seeing an upgrade in the cybersecurity firewall, so to speak, now? That we have out there?
Definitely, there would be a need for more awareness and a need for faster response time. One thing would anybody would tell you when it comes to cybersecurity is not whether it would happen or not. Is when will it happen? Okay, and when it happens, how do you respond? I think these are the two things that matters. Just recently, Apple announced a zero-day vulnerability in their devices, and they told people to. I mean, it's been in the wild, like we all say, it's been in the wild for well over a year, even before Apple got to know about it. And I mean, they were able to patch it on time and told people to upgrade and all that. Yeah. And that was even last week. I'm sure a lot of people that are using iPhone or iPad or the iMac and all that are probably not even upgraded to it and all that. So the truth is there would always be vulnerabilities, there would always be attacks. But then how do you respond to it and how quick do you respond to it to curb it is what we really need to discuss about. So the first thing is how do we prevent it? And if eventually it happens, how quick are we to respond to it and respond decisively to those threats? So it would always happen, but then we need to put mechanisms in place to reduce the incidents from happening, one. And whenever it happens, let's be fast enough to respond to it and deal with it decisively. And wherever the outcome of these attacks are, how do we put legislations in place? How do we put security measures in place such that those that are behind it are brought to book and they're meant to face the law when the time comes.
Yeah. So I mean, currently, what does any legislation support any of this? Is there any? I don't know if there is a cybersecurity or a cyberbullying or any of those laws. I mean, how many of those do we have, and how potent would you say they've been in the past?
Yeah, we've had a number of laws that have been passed over the years. We have the law on data privacy, yeah, which I think is one of the biggest laws that we've created that's in the last few years. So I think that's one of the key things because data privacy has like become the center focus. I mean, has become like the focus in recent times, yeah, particularly with the loan sharks and the abuse of data, yeah, and all, yeah, that. So we've had data privacy issues over the last few weeks, and thank God that we are having more and more response from the government to deal with some of these things. So now, for example, government is putting measures in place, telling the fintechs and the banks not to deal with some of these loan sharks because, of course, before you can be a loan shark, you need to collect money. Okay, so if there's nobody collecting your money, then I mean you will be out of business. So these are some of the mechanisms they are putting in place. And but I know some of I think the latest so far when it comes to data privacy and all that is a bit related to fintech. And this, which is one of the things that was released last week, that's like a framework. It's still a work in progress, but like a framework around data collection for fintech.
All right, so let me hold you there for a bit. You tell us more on this framework in just a moment. We need to take a quick break, and we'll be back to continue this very engaging and interesting conversation. Please stay with us. Thank you for staying with us. We still have with us our panelists. One is right here with us in the Lagos studio, and the other is joining us via Zoom from Oshogbo, the Osun State capital. But just before we took that break, Adedoyin was talking about a legislation or a framework, which is still a work in progress, that was released last week. Adedoyin, so you were talking about this, and you said, it's actually going to help in terms of data privacy and all of that. So if you could explain more on that quickly.
Okay, I think the Consumer Protection Unit of the Nigerian government last week announced this new framework that is in play how basically for any company that is into loan applications and all that, how to manage data. And some of the processes that has to be involved when it comes to consumer data and what you can do with customer data. So I think in the long run, yes, once this framework is in place and is probably put into law, we'll see more control. Let me put it that way, because I know a lot of people have talked about this for a very long time. A lot of people, I mean, almost everybody has gotten SMS from one point or the other. Yeah. Oh, this person owes you money. This person is a chronic debtor and all that. So, which is quite serious. But hopefully, once this framework comes to play, we should definitely see more improvement, and some of all those things should go down.
Well, let's hope we get that in place. But let me quickly just give us a rundown of some of the things that the NCC is saying, our benefits and also challenges, then we look at them. So, some of the benefits, according to the NCC, they said it's going to help give us enhanced mobile broadband, like you said, massive machine-type communication, ultra-reliable and low-latency communications. And as challenges, they listed limited frequencies with the required spectral efficiency, skilled professionals with requisite knowledge of the technology, and then fewer 5G-enabled devices, as well as cost of deployment, which you made mention of, earlier, and I said we're going to get to that. So, I mean, we're looking at the economics now behind this, the cost of data, how fast your data is going to burn, because the upload and download speed is going to be remarkably fast. And then also the devices, so how do we bridge this? I'm looking, and also if you look at the fact that the economy has not really been so favorable, the Naira has been on a downward spiral, and all of, how do we get people to get on board?
Well, I think how we have to get people more on board is to improve our digital economy. What I mean by digital economy is if you make money online, you will spend more money to be online.
True.
That's the logic. But if you are not making money, then you don't have money to solve, like we'd always say. Yeah. Okay. So what we need to do is we need to get more people to come online, to build online businesses. By doing that, what we are doing is we are encouraging. We are taking our economy from just a physical economy to a digital economy. And once we are doing that, these days, I mean, there are countries these days that have what they call digital nomads, visas for digital nomads, meaning that you can work from anywhere you are. If you apply for a digital nomad, meaning you can work from anywhere you are as a digital nomad. So we can also, if we improve our security, if we improve things, there are a lot of people that would want to come to Nigeria and be a digital nomad in Nigeria. Why not? You understand? So if things improve, and we can, with the network we have, with facilities we have, with infrastructure we have, we can encourage people like this to come to the country. And I mean, if you do business online, you'll surely be able to make money online and also spend more time online. So I think that for me, that's really where the goal should be. and help people come online and do business.
All right, Victor, let me bring the conversation to you. Looking at the economics, how do we bridge that gap? I mean, it seems it's going to cost a lot of money first, to obtain the device, and then also how quickly your data would run out when you are on this platform. So, how do you think? What do you think should be done, be it by government or private sector, and even the citizens? Which Adedoyin says they need to get more businesses online. But in your own perspective, what do you think can be done to ensure that everyone is on board and not at a great cost to the pocket?
Thank you very much. In my own opinion, I think it is one of the human's greatest strengths to always adapt, and another of his nature to always seek for the next better thing. So I think the government's responsibility is just to create the enabling environment for the spread of this 5G network. The human who wants to have the phones or the gadgets that support this, they will have that. And the companies that are looking at expanding their market will always put their consumers in mind. And so you still have low cost phones that will be supported by 5G. I'm not sure how many Nigerians really use the big Samsung phones, even when it was still when we're operating solely on 4G or on 3G. But somehow the low cost telephones saturated the market supporting the same network. So I think what the government really needs to do is to see how the skeletal framework of this 5G can spread to every nook and cranny of the country. And then the nature of man to always want will take care of the rest. And the nature of corporations to always expand their market and reach their consumers will take care of the rest. I think the basic law of demand and supply will take care of this part of what we are considering. So for me, I think the government's responsibility is to see how to bring investors in or how they themselves can fast track the fast deployment of this network. Thank you very much.
All right, so that's one of the challenges that the NCC mentioned. Another one that they mentioned is having skilled professionals with requisite knowledge of the technology. How do you think we can bridge that gap as well, or how do you think we can upscale or upskill?
Thank you. It's unfortunate that ASU is on strike right now, but in a functioning environment, this what universities of technologies or any department of technology should be looking at, and we should be training people in line with with global shifts. And so I hope ASU will be back on time and university students can resume. And in the meantime, I hope the private universities that are working now can train people. And yes, also in the in the work sector, more people can receive trainings. Within MTN, within these mobile operators, I believe they will be able to train enough staff who will be able to at least, if not handle, but at least bridge a little of this gap. But in the real sense, I think the idea of identifying threats is also to be able to bridge them. And I think the entity that have been able to identify these weaknesses and threats will have something up their sleeves to bridge them in no time.
Well, let's hope that, of course, it's bridged in no time, like you said. And, of course, we get to enjoy all of that would come along with the 5G. But I have to say thank you to you, Victor, Dr. Victor Bamishaye, for joining us on the program today via Zoom from Oshogbo, the Osun State capital.
Thank you for always having me. It's a pleasure.
Of course. Well, Adedoyin, lastly, one of the challenges is that we're going to have limited frequencies with the required spectral efficiency. I don't know what that means. If you could enlighten us on that and quickly tell us how we can bridge that.
Okay, I think it's really about the network distribution. Of course, the infrastructure to support this is still new. So it will still take a while for us as a country to get the infrastructure in place for us to be able to meet the demand from the telecoms providers to be able to deploy more and more of this. Okay, so it might be a challenge at the immediate, but just like 4G, the last broadband penetration rate was, I think, about 40%. So we probably would always, like every society, will scale through. And definitely there will be more investment. Once once we see the resources that are coming into the sector, I mean, the revenues that are coming into the sector, there will be a need for more investment. And once investment comes in, there will be more infrastructure. When we have more infrastructure, we can always expand our 5G network across the country.
Well, let's hope that happens in the very, nearest future, hopefully. But I have to say thank you as well to you for joining us today.
Thank you
And
very much
sharing
for
your
having
thoughts,
me.
of course. Well, that's where we are with the 5G. The federal government has already licensed some operators to launch the new technology on the 24th. So we'll be waiting for that launch and see how it goes. But that's where we are, and that's where we'll wrap the show up today. We'll leave you with the most viewed videos on our YouTube channel in the past week. I'm Victor Matthias. Thank you for watching.
Maintaining his spots in the charts in the 5th place is the video of troops intensifying their patrol on the Abuja-Kaduna highway to prevent attacks on travelers and residents.
We have a choice.
In 4th is former President Olusegun Obasanjo asking Nigerians not to get it wrong in choosing who leads the country in 2023.
And if we don't make the right choice, we don't blame anybody. We blame ourselves.
First protocol.
3rd spot is taken by a video of a building ransacked by the police where mummified bodies were found.
The next is Orator Sugar.
River State is an asset.
In 2nd is River State Governor Nyesom Wike dropping a political bombshell ahead of the elections in 2023.
For me, if you don't want to win elections, it's your business. I'm not the one running the election. He who wears the shoe knows where it teaches him.
While the closed-door meeting between former President Olusegun Obasanjo and the presidential candidate of the APC, Bola Tinubu, sits right on top of the charts this week.
Very, very, sir.